Right, welcome everyone to this week's very special Nym community call. You know it's special because I'm rocking my OG Nym swag, which I only rock when it's actually a special occasion. Today we not only have some special guests with us, but also a special announcement which we kind of already did on our socials. So if you're here, you probably already know that Zcash payments have now been enabled for an NVPN. But this marks a pretty exciting chapter. So we thought, it's time to bring Zcash back on the community call. So in that spirit, we have today with us Lead Bytes from the Zcash Foundation. How's it going, sir?
It depends on open source Zcash developer, and doing well, thanks.
Excellent to have you on. And now returning guest, Jason, aka Squirrel. How's it going, sir? I think there's a bit of a delay, probably a busy Wi-Fi network over there. It's awesome to have you back, and of course I have one of the I think biggest OGs of the Nym community call. I can't even count how many times you've been on already. Alexis Roussel, who's the COO, Chief Operating Officer of Nym. How's it going, sir?
Yeah, it's going very well. I'm in a different place and a bit warmer place than usual. So hopefully the connection will stay stable.
Yes, the shirt is excellent. So I can already, regardless of the connection, very nice shirt, classy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. As usual, we are keeping a close eye on your questions. So if you have any questions for either the folks over here from Zcash or for Alexi or myself, then make sure to leave them in the chat. You can leave them in the YouTube live chat or the Twitch live chat. Or if you don't want to compromise your privacy and log in with an account on either of these platforms, you can also message us on the general chat of the Nym Matrix server. We're also keeping an eye there, and we're going to be answering your questions. But before we get to that, I want to jump into our Zcash integration or Zcash payment, the possibility of paying with Zcash for an NVPN and what it means. I don't even know where to start, whether we should start with Alexi, but I guess it's only fair to start with our guests. So why is Zcash special? Let's start from the basics. What is Zcash and what makes it special among all the other cryptocurrencies?
Yep, I could take that. So what makes Zcash special? A number of things. It was the first ever project to use ZK proofs in production, and it did that to launch a completely permissionless, free payment system, which provided users full privacy. And so what I mean by full privacy is that on-chain, there is no data revealed about your fully shielded transactions. So that includes the sender's address, the receiver's address, and the amount in which you're transacting. This is done so that people gain consent over what they share with the world. Blockchains are permanent and public databases. And so when your financial actions are published to the world, that can lead to fairly bad things. So Zcash solved that for the first time. And it went on to make further technological breakthroughs, which we could get into maybe a bit later.
Oops, my mic was muted. We definitely can and should get into that a bit later. But just since we're doing the primers, Alexi, I want to, before we join the whole like Zcash plus NymVPN and what these two things mean together, let's also explain to people how NymVPN payments work. So how we dissociate payment information from actual internet use and why that's important.
Yeah. Okay. So initially, like Nym payments have to be done with their with the native token. Right? This is like the normal way of doing a payment over the NymVPN. You have some Nym tokens, and in exchange of the Nym tokens, you will receive Nym credentials. And basically, what we've done, we said, well, we don't want the user, especially at the beginning, to have to worry about this this Nym token and being able to pay into any kind of currency he is accustomed to. It's a choice. It's a choice that we made as a company. So this is like the private company side of it, where we said, okay, we're going to develop a payment tool where people can pay anything, but we're going to use the benefit of this credentials system. So on the payment side, basically you can pay if you want with credit card. We are integrated with major credit cards, but we also have our own BTC Pay server instance. So basically, this is a self-hosted BTC Pay server, and on which we can have Bitcoin, Lightning, Liquids, USDT, and this is where we added Zcash actually on there, and this is the work, and we can talk about the work that we've done there. But then once we receive a payment, which is not a Nym payment, if it's another type of payment, what we do is we request the network to issue credentials in the place of the person. He could do this himself, but we do it for him. And those credentials are called zk-nyms. And there are going to be, it's also a zero knowledge proof. It's based on a system called Coconut Threshold Signature Scheme, which is has been designed by George Denises. Basically, what the proof is, have you paid, right? This is a very simple proof in terms of like the logic is, did you pay for your credential? And yes, if you paid, so then you can show this proof to the gateway, and the gateway is the first port, is the first hop through the VPN or the mixnet. And this gateway looks at the proof and says it's a valid or not a valid proof. But if you are working like this, there is one problem that you have is the linkability of the proof. So let's say you have the gateway and the issuer of proofs, they collude together. They can share the proof and they can say, hey, it's the same user. So the zk-nym has one specific, which is that when it's issued and given to the user on its phone or on its computer, he can randomize it locally. He can process it so it changes the format. The string is different, and he can present it to the gateway, and it's still a valid proof. But it became unlinkable with the original issuance, and you can do this exercise as much as you want. It's a very cheap exercise in terms of cryptography. So what happens is that here we are using like in a row all these principles. So like if you're a user and you are paying with Zcash, first we are not going to take any kind of information about you. You're going to pay with Zcash, so we don't know where this money is coming from, basically, because we are using shielded address too. And then we are, of course, you need to have a Nym account, which is a BIP39 seed, like any kind of a wallet. And then we are associating this credential to this Nym address, and then you can use it. And there's no way for us to see where you are going. So the only thing we know is that there is a BIP39 seed that was produced. There's a public key which is available that we can see, and we associated we know that someone paid in Zcash, and then we know that we attributed some credit through a form of zk-nym to it, and that's the only information we have.
Right, that sounds really excellent. Anything to add there, guys, from the Zcash team? I wanna make sure that you guys can also air your thoughts here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. zk-nyms and yeah, zk proofs on a Zcash system working together. It's quite cool. Yeah, I'd be interested to learn more. I guess we could go into exactly why Nym and Zcash is a great partnership, like the ways in which this collaboration actually goes further. So Nym Mixnet actually improving Zcash itself. I'd like to discuss how that's happening, But yeah.
Yeah, let's actually move into that. So sorry, go ahead, Alexi.
I think it's,
Oh yeah, because there's two main aspects, right, to this collaboration right now, to this like partnership that we have. I mean, we accept, so we did all the work on BTC Pay server. You guys were the work, we were the first ones to implement it. And then there's this whole other project that was the Zcash community grants, which happened also. So we should talk about. I mean, the other one started first, actually.
Elias, you were about to say something, but there was like a bit of delay back and forth. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to add, yeah, that I think the sort of, from a security perspective, just kind of reducing attack surface, kind of in terms of trying to introduce any sort of technology that has encryption, zero knowledge proofs, I think makes things better, and both combining zk-nyms together with Zcash compared to, for example, using kind of more kind of transparent blockchains, I think is, yeah, big net positive.
We lost Jason for a bit. Hopefully he can join us. He can join us again. Now the only thing that's left to discuss, which is very exciting to me actually, which is like basically on the meta level, why it's interesting and exciting to see a collaboration such as this one between Zcash and Nym and NymVPN, is this privacy stack that we have, right? So Zcash solves one problem within like user privacy, which is transaction privacy. You have full control over what details of your transactions get logged on this permanent blockchain, right? NymVPN and the MixNet more generally solves a different part, like a different like layer of this stack, which is the network layer, right? And I think it's really interesting how basically adding the two together, right? Whether it's using transacting Zcash via the Nym MixNet, or paying for NymVPN with Zcash, it actually provides for the end user, I think, something more than the parts, more than the individual parts. So let's talk about this privacy stack and why it's exciting, to tie technologies like Zcash and NymVPN together. Elias, if you wanna riff on this one.
Yeah, sorry, could you just rephrase a bit to kind of clarify a bit what you mean by your question? Or?
Yeah, so what I mean is, just let's explore the opportunities that privacy stack, such as ours, such as Zcash plus NymVPN, how it's better than its individual parts for the end user, and why it's exciting to provide to solve in one go solve different parts of this stack for the end users. Sorry for the many words.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, yeah, basically building sort of circular privacy ecosystem that feeds back into itself. So, for example, paying first with Zcash, then going through zk-nyms, getting access to Nym, and then being able to use Nym to protect the sort of network layer of Zcash transactions in the wallet layer using Light Wallet and so on. That's I guess kind of the first step of that first is the payments, but then the kind of network privacy layer then will enhance the sort of payments layer, and it all kind of feeds back into itself.
Welcome back, Jason. Anything to add there?
Excellent. Yeah. So maybe to clarify, Zcash has perfect chain privacy. If you're making a fully shielded transaction, by the way, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. If you're making a fully shielded transaction, there is no data leaked about the transaction information. So people stay perfectly safe on chain. They maintain their freedom to transact around the world. However, that's on the chain. That's on the blockchain level. People's wallets the way Zcash's infrastructure stack works is we have full nodes, we have light wallet servers, and we have wallets. Okay, so these could be mobile or desktop wallets. When you're submitting a transaction to the network, even if it's a fully shielded transaction, it's being submitted to a light wallet server. And so even if you're receiving a transaction that might contain a memo, you're sending a request to that light wallet server. And so those servers are run by third parties, generally like could be fairly trusted, people, but third party nonetheless. And so if it was a malicious third party, they would be able to identify like an IP address of someone who's making that transaction. So it does help to have, of course, always use a VPN, always use Tor if possible, but it helps like on the wallet level if there's an integration where people's IP addresses are not made accessible to third-party infrastructure providers. And out of all of them, we couldn't ask for Nym, right? Because Nym itself is decentralized. The node operators have these incentives where they're incentivized to maintain operation in order to receive rewards. And so there is a nice, there's a nice balance between the on-chain security which we get with Zcash and the network level security which we get with Nym, and being able to pay for the VPN itself with Nym to be able to access the mixnet, paying with Zcash, like as Leapbyte said, like it's a nice circular thing we have.
Alexi.
I will go like to one very like high level is that, and then I go like deeper a bit back on like what Jason was saying. The very high level is that basically if you want to build up anonymity on the internet, it's not something which exists naturally, right? So you're not naturally anonymous. You have to build it up. And to build it up, you have to do it in every layer and every service that you're using. You have to push it to the limit, and it's also something that you need to do in collaboration with someone else, because when you're communicating with someone, trying to make sure that this communication, whatever type of communication it is, financial or social or whatever, this communication remains completely private, and so that it remains anonymous to the rest of the world, it needs a collective work, right? And so here, the first case, we are tackling two cases already at the same time, right? So first, there is the grant that the Zcash community has given to Nym, which we are really thankful, actually. Where so thank you guys. Where basically Nym is building that part where the Zcash network can use the mixnet, so that wallets can communicate with the blockchain or with nodes who run the blockchain, and then the IP address get obfuscated and the location on the network gets completely obfuscated. Right. So this is the layered thing where suddenly this network, which is Zcash network, is less visible from the outside. Actually, hopefully, if we can reach even the level where the whole Zcash network runs completely over a mixnet, then it becomes completely invisible from the outside. Only when you interact with it, you can actually see it. So that's one. The second thing is you wanted to say something, Jason?
Continue. It might be what I was thinking.
No, the second thing is like the interactions between the people, and like you're doing a business, and so when you're doing a business or you exchange it, you have to make sure that the other person has the same standard of privacy that you have, And this is hard, right? Because they might be using systems which are not secure, and so you're sending a message, and then your message is already like shared to millions of people just because you send it to that person. And so this is why it's as a Nym to receive the payment in Zcash is this kind of example. Is how do you design a business model where you can serve a digital product, which is here in this case like a standard VPN, and you serve it in a way where you give all the guarantees to the user that you will have almost no data on him. And so accepting privacy coins like Zcash is one of the way to do it, which is not evident because like we're getting feedback sometimes from I don't know, like from the compliance world who was saying, oh, but are you sure this is legal? I say, well, we are a merchant. We can accept any kind of payment, you know. Oh yeah, that's true. So it's more like showing the example in this case of this like relationship, how to make a business without collecting the data by default. So these are like the two main aspects I can see to build up anonymity.
I love it, and I fully agree. Yeah, for business use cases, privacy is absolutely essential. So if you think about any business, they don't want their financial records published to the world. It's probably not a good thing if competitors could see how much Nym is making from its users, and yeah, internally, it's not a good thing for Nym to be holding data on its users. That could be a bad situation. Just to add to like maybe some of the technical merits of the Nym mixnet in particular, and how it could be used in Zcash, or how it will be used, is that like an important factor, which I think is sometimes overlooked, is the fact that it decorrelates, like it prevents against timing analysis. And that's very important. The blockchain, even with fully shielded transactions, records a timestamp of when that transaction hit a consensus valid, like a consensus node, and was broadcast. There's a timestamp, and so that's very important. There's no other data. There's a timestamp and there's a number of outputs, and so if you're making your transaction if you're submitting it through the mixnet, it will be much harder for outside observers to correlate exactly when that transaction was made. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alexis.
No, I mean it is correct. There will be more. I mean, the mixnet has a certain latency, which is like 1 second. So it's not a perfect thing. It's like basically you need a certain number of like transactions or like data points to create to make sure that it's not easily that you cannot correlate. So what the Nym transaction, the Nym transport layer does, it adds a latency when a transaction is done. So you have indeed a timestamps when the transaction is recorded on the blockchain, but when it was sent, actually it was like this was delayed, right? In a random way. So basically, you cannot know where the person is in the world. But let's say there's only one person within 1 hour who sends a Zcash transactions. Obviously, we can say, well, that will be the same person, right? So still, because of the mixnet, you cannot find where on the internet he is. But you could imagine that there's like, if there is one person that you saw using Zcash, it will be that person. But at one point, if you have like enough transaction throughout within a minute or within a few seconds, then those get mixed together, right? And this is where you get the anonymity, because then you cannot tell really which IP from which part of the mixnet it came. That's impossible to say. So yeah, you still need, and this is something we say a lot at Nym, is that privacy needs company. And privacy needs company because we need to have these like other people doing stuff at the same time to be private ourselves. And this is why also the mixnet used in the case of Zcash, when the project will finish, it's the same mixnet used by other projects. So there is like the delay, the packages, the Zcash transaction data will be transported within the mixnet, which is shared by many other applications. So that creates the anonymity of that part.
Yes, absolutely. Any privacy technology, if only one person is using it or just a small group of people, becomes an actual floodlight or flashlight on you that you're using this technology. So this is another way of putting privacy loves company. I want to bring up just something that you said, Jason, and community comment in response. OFAC would like a word on that statement. Just back at the when you mentioned the importance of privacy in business, right? And this actually reminds me of something that I think this is the right company to discuss with. Recently, the suit against Tornado Cash, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was dropped. So I think this is a really big moment. I was not expecting this at all, but it makes me really, really happy for the precedent it sets. What do you guys think about this move? Am I naive to be optimistic, or is it really is legitimately good news? A bit of a primer for people who are not aware of the story. There's a tool, a mixer called Tornado Cash, which basically does the same thing to crypto funds as the Nym mixnet does to data, right? So it provides you with transactional privacy by allowing you to transact through like this mixer, which mixes up people's funds, and you can't really tie the sender to the receiver. Basically, that's a very simple way of putting it. And they were put on the OFAC sanctions list, which is the nuclear option when it comes to sanctioning. Right? It's basically designated as a it's called the SDN list, the designated nationals, I think. That's what it stands for, right? It's a pretty serious thing. So anybody who transacts with or does business with anything related to Tornado Cash can face, I think, up to like 10 years in prison. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's like a really serious thing. And also the developer of Tornado Cash was arrested and held for a real long time in the Netherlands. And now actually the suit is dropped, and this also means that Tornado Cash will be removed from the SDN list, which I think is really, really nice. What do you guys think about this? Am I right to be excited about this? I should probably point at a person. Jason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the issue that I found was that they went after the developers, and they thought that it was possible to add smart contract addresses to like a list, right? So this is something that operates autonomously, and the code was released, and yeah, I feel like it was the wrong approach taken by them, and it proved illegal to do. But just to note, yeah, Zcash, we don't define as a mixer for funds. Really, it's a pool of funds. So like, maybe just to go back, I'll come back to Tornado Cash, but like the correct way to use Zcash, we were talking about NymVPN, Nym mixnet, and how like transactions or data packets, like the timing they decorrelate the timing of people who make the transactions using the network. The correct way to use Zcash isn't to put your funds in and expect to be private and then take them out. That's the completely wrong approach. You only get privacy from having your funds shielded at rest. That's how you get privacy. It's by depositing money into the Zcash shielded pool and leaving it there. And so, yeah, I think when like government agencies were looking at Tornado Cash, they were seeing people just like depositing money inside and immediately withdrawing in an attempt to like mix funds and mix funds, and yeah, like people have a right to do that. They have a right to interact with any internet protocol or smart contract they like to, and yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Anything Leap Bites?
Yeah, I think to add, that my understanding is that the kind of charges against the organization are being dropped, or the case, but that the co-founder Roman Storm still faces prosecution, and so it's sort of relatively good news, but it's still kind of not the end of the story, and it's still unclear. We'll need to wait to see what's happened still, in terms of the charges against the developers.
Alexi, what do you think about all of this, given that you have a background in law? Is this something to be excited about, or not so much overall?
So it shows that well, in general, the war with crypto is just going to increase, right? So we might have some like small victories, and like you said, Elias, all the prosecution is. I mean, Roman is still not out of trouble himself, because he has also some charges about money laundering and so on. But at least they cannot stop the code. They cannot force him to do anything in the code. And I think this shows us where to go. Basically, the legal system, the whole legal system in modern history, is when it comes to trying to find out the culprit, is looking at the intermediary, right? Looking at the facilitator, the one who's going to make this possible within an active role. So when we are talking about money laundering, well, someone is pushing money from one side to another. It's either a bank or a broker. Someone is actively helping, right? And so the whole system has been set up in place so that we go and get this guy, say, hey, you fucked up, you helped the criminal, or you gave the possibility to your criminal to do a money transfer or to do something. And basically, it was working fine until everything was man-made, or like everything had to be done by a human. But now we are seeing more and more decentralized systems, and we are seeing more and more hidden systems, and where people can actually do these kind of actions in a trustless way. Because these trustless way don't require the active help of a third party, then the legal system is kind of like blocked. They cannot go further. What they would have to do is they would have to catch everyone in the street who's just connecting to the network. So that's maybe, it's actually something that might happen in some places, and might happen in places where they go down to the authoritarian path, where they would say, well, instead of like blocking the people who are developing, because every time we do, it doesn't stop anything, or we try to stop the companies, we can't stop them. Let's go after the people themselves, right? But right now, this mechanism is, at least in the countries, in the Western European and the US countries, this is a kind of a shield against us, because it's not part of the common practice to go after all the people because the whole group did something together, right? It's more like we're trying to find the intermediary. So, and we can see this even in Switzerland. We have this like new law on surveillance, which is there's a small adaptation, which is not good for them anyway, but not good for all the privacy companies in Switzerland, because we have two obligations. One is to collect identity cards above 5,000 users, which is we're trying to fight this one. But the second one, which is more interesting, is that we are supposed to. They know that they know that it's not good to remove end-to-end encryption. They want to say, yeah, we don't want to go against your privacy of the privacy of the user. So you're not supposed, you don't have to break end-to-end encryption, but we want to know the paths of communication. We want to know who is talking to who. And if this part is encrypted and the provider has the keys of this channel, then he should provide the decryption keys. So they were thinking of like a normal traditional VPN, where basically the VPN provider gives the tunnel, and they can decrypt the tunnel where the user is using. But in our case, the law is made in a way that we as NYM, we never have the keys in our hands. It's always the keys are in the hand of like the users and the gateway and the mixnet, but we don't have the keys. So what is interesting, what it tells me is that more cryptography and more decentralization is actually making it harder for them to have a grip on the people using technology. So of course we cannot do this in one go. And so for example, NYM, we are partially centralized on a few things, and we are trying to decentralize to the maximum. But on the network layer, we're extremely decentralized, and we can see already that they don't have this grip on us. So I think it's a bit the same kind of like thing that is happening with Tornado Cash. They try to catch all of it, and then they stumble on this smart contract, which they cannot get a grip on. So they had to admit to let it go, right? And so this gives us a good example of what to reproduce, basically. And we should like do this more and more.
I think Jason was about to say something.
I'd just like to add, there's something interesting that happened when the Tornado Cash was added to the OFAC list, which was you started to see some level of censorship in Ethereum block validators. And so this is just an awesome thing about Zcash, is that it's a layer 1 which provides permissionless access to its privacy. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking,
Yeah, and this is why also at NYM we, I mean, eventually we're also going to add Ethereum. It's on the list in the future term. We accept Bitcoin, which is like fully transparent. We accept Litecoin, which is fully transparent. But then we also added privacy coin. So for the others, we have the first one we had was Monero, because it has a huge community and we're close to them. We added Litecoin Mimblewimble, which is cool. I didn't know it was existing because I didn't follow the Litecoin for some time. So I discovered while integrating it that they had included Mimblewimble on their layer 1, which is cool. And now we have Zcash. And what it allows you to do is it allows, and also we have the cash payment. So this is also like the privacy feature we have, is you can send a letter with some banknotes, and you print your address, and then we will credit your account. So people do use that, right? We do have some payments, not a ton, but we do. What is important is to give actually the people who need access to those tools, right? We don't expect, I don't expect everyone to be paying with a privacy coin, but at least when the people that needs have the option to do it, then this is a great service to them, and they can choose which one of them they want, the paper version or the electronic version. But it's important to have this choice, basically.
I just want to interject here. Big shout out to the absolute OG of privacy technology, which is Cash. It's we can try to we can scramble to reproduce it online in like an online environment, but nothing will ever get even close to Cash. So guys, protect Cash. Don't allow Cash to be outlawed or curtailed in any way. It's one of the absolute OGs of privacy technology.
Yeah, HODL Cash. So maybe just to discuss some of the details of the Zcash integration on NYM. So at the moment, it uses Zcash sapling. So if you do want to pay for NymVPN with Zcash, you could download a Zcash wallet if you already have one. Just be aware that it accepts sapling payments. So you'll see a Z, the address will begin with a Z, and that means the funds that you're sending will be going into the sapling pool. So in Zcash, there are 3 pools of value. There's the transparent pool, which works just like Bitcoin. And if you transact within the transparent pool, all the addresses and all the amounts will be completely visible to everyone forever. If you use, there's also the sapling pool. So the addresses start with a Z, and it's fully private if you transact with someone else who has a Z address, who has a sapling address. And we also have the newest shielded pool called Orchard. And the addresses there will begin with a U. So it gets kind of complicated where you can have Orchard and sapling both in a U address. But NymVPN uses sapling addresses. So if you want to pay with complete privacy, it's ideal to have your funds already in the sapling pool. And so if you use something like Zashi Wallet, you can deposit funds into your shielded address and you can pay into NymVPN. Correct me if I'm wrong, BeatBytes.
Yeah, I'm kind of also not sure on the specific spouts, but I mean, I believe when you move between pools, for example, from sapling to orchards, you need to go through a turnstile, which is somewhat like making, I mean, the kind of value is kind of somewhat transparent. And this is sort of necessary basically to work as a sort of audit of the total supply to kind of verify that there aren't any inflation bugs. And I believe orchard to sapling, yeah, I mean, I think we need to check, but presumably orchard to sapling also would be kind of going back through the turnstile to kind of order to verify the pooled supply.
You heard it.
Yeah, maybe we could go a little bit maybe we can go a little bit in the story of like the BTC Pay because it's a kind of a fun story also, because we set up the BTC Pay server some time ago. I mean, for the beginning of like, first we set up BTC Pay server for our shop. Like you could buy the wonderful T-shirt of that Sudo has right now. You can buy it still.
I don't think you can. Can you still buy this one?
I think you can still buy this one. Maybe not that precisely one, but something similar. But anyway, but we have a Nym shop for a swag, and we added BTC Pay server there, and then the idea was to prepare for the NymVPN, and then to have it running, so that when the NymVPN starts, we're ready, and then we start adding coins that were available, and so what was interesting is that I started to look up, okay, what are the other coins, and I stumble on Zcash, and there's like a weird. I mean, someone had already worked on something, but it was like completely broken and not working at all. So I went on the forum and I said, well, would like to use it again. And for some reason, I don't know why, when I said this, like it created kind of a stir at Zcash. So like, oh, someone wants to use it. And then like suddenly the whole community was like, oh, we should revive this. And then I think this is where there's a small grant that was, I think, even given to you, BeatBytes, to actually work on this. And so we created this small group. We start working on it, and my objective was really to say, hey guys, let's make it that it's as that really it's as easy so that anyone could just like install it, right? If you have the knowledge of like installing Monero or the other coins, then you should have the knowledge of installing the Zcash. And so, because first they said, oh, you could use a fork version of BTC Pay server. I was like I said, I'm on the production system. I'm not going to change right now. So and so eventually we did, and we did some like also bug fixing and like tweaking. And so now I think we have a stable version. So sadly, I wanted to have my like the own chain. So that was also like a learning experience. I had to revisit some of my Ethereum moments because in Ethereum you have this moment when you're thinking a chain. There's some moments where you have spam attacks, or you have like and it takes time. And Zcash has also this like moment between like block 1,000,007 and 1,000,009 where basically it takes ages, takes forever to think you're a node there. I don't know if you can solve that issue. But then I came to this other issue, which is that our VPS provider was like has some limit in size of the disk. And so basically with all the other chains which we already had, that was too much on the VPS. So luckily I was able to like switch very easily to a light version, which is working great. So I mean, I would recommend for most of the people to use the light mode, which is you don't have the chain yourself. You connect to an existing provider, which I don't remember the name, but that is available, and that works perfectly fine already. Yeah. So now the only thing which is missing, and maybe you guys have a clue, is like the detection of the transaction when it goes into the mempool, which is missing. I don't know why. Because if you make a payment in Zcash, you might notice you have to wait until it actually confirms, and then BTC Pay server picks it up. And I mean, if you close the window, it also picks it up, so that's no problem. But you still need to wait for a whole block to go through before the BTC Pay server will tell you it's okay. So it was like so still some like a few things of progress, but I really enjoyed the work, and now I think we have something that is usable by other people.
I was not aware. Thanks for sharing this, Alexi. I was not aware at all of the grant and this whole context. And I want to take this opportunity to shout out the Zcash community and ZecHub in general. It's such a lovely place. So any interaction I had with you guys, it's such a nice, like, closely knit community of contributors. It's something really special that you built there. So if you are from the Zcash community, which I see a bunch of usernames in the comments section who probably are, big shout out to you. And yeah, it's awesome stuff. I think with that, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Sorry, I just feel it's really important to say thank you so much, Alexi and the Nym team, for adding Zcash as a payment option. And we don't have too many like ways to pay with Zcash, and so your experience is like super valuable. We can learn from it and improve, make it super easy for people. And so yeah, thank you. We're hoping to produce like docs around Nym, maybe some blog posts explaining what it is and how it helps. And yeah, so thanks.
Excellent. With that,
no, you're welcome, and I really recommend you to also like push the word in the BTC Pay server community, because I mean now they have something easy to install. So there are a big number of instances, and I think number of people who want to have privacy coins, it's quite important.
Let's rate them, ladies and gentlemen. No, I did not say that. I was just joking. Let's not rate anybody, okay? With that, sorry guys, but we're almost up against the time, so we have to jump into some community questions. We have quite a few, so let's actually go through a few of them. First question is from our beloved community contributor Beyond. When will Zashi work on Mixnet? So Zashi, for context, ladies and gentlemen, is a mobile wallet. I believe it's the most popular Zcash mobile wallet, right? Yeah,
by far. Download Zashi if you haven't tried it. It's on App Store, Android, and on F-Droid. Android and on F-Droid, yeah. Will Zashi work on Mixnet? I don't know if there's any work being done on that now, but I do know that there are some super awesome things coming to Zashi like really soon. So give it a try, and yeah, cool stuff coming. Mixnet maybe soon.
Some vague alpha right there. So something cool is coming to Zashi. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thanks for that answer. Thanks for the question, Beyond. Next one is also from Beyond. Question for both of you guys. How does the project stimulate token purchases in a market like this? And why do we know that that Monero is used for money laundering, but we have never heard of ZEC used for the same, I would say. We can hear you.
Lee, you can take this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically how to answer it, but I think mainly it's just kind of happens to be that that the sort of various people, that the kind of Monero community historically has been associated with, or has been kind of more popular in various kind of communities that's kind of involved in more kind of nefarious activity and so on. And I think also there had been, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's kind of a specific reason. It's just sort of the communities felt that both kind of Bitcoin and also they happens to choose Monero as a kind of crypto that's they kind of use more, and I think also Zcash, I guess, because of various features, for example, in terms of kind of viewing key and transparency, is kind of less appealing to people that may want to use kind of crypto for money laundering and so on.
Thanks for that answer, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, all privacy technologies provide a shade, and under that shade, things can happen, right? And that's it's always a trade-off relationship between providing that shade and all of the good and legitimate things that can happen under that shade, and make sure that shade is provided in a solid and sort of like like breakable or negotiable way, right? Versus some of the bad things which will necessarily happen under any shade that is provided, right? This is the fundamental debate that happens around privacy technologies. I'm glad to hear that there's no rumors of Zcash being used for this purpose, but even if it was, it's absolutely crucial technology for us to use and for it to exist.
I think to add also, yeah, I think mainly it comes down to sort of market cap, trading volume, and so on, kind of how many transactions there are per second. For example, Bitcoin, of course, is going to be used a lot because it is kind of one of the highest cryptocurrencies in terms of transaction volume, and also with Monero with a higher market cap, that I imagine probably has kind of relatively high trading volume and kind of transactions per day and so on, and that that kind of then makes it more popular for such activities.
Yes, I think that's probably part of it. As mentioned earlier, the anonymity set is an important measure when it comes to these things. But thanks for the question, Beyond, and thanks for the answer as well. Now, next up, we have a bunch of people mentioning, including Beyond. Next one's also from him, but also Gramaggio. A bunch of people are mentioning BitChat, which is this new announcement that came out from Jack Dorsey recently. It is a Bluetooth-based chat application, like a local chat application. So not so long ago, information about the new BitChat app appeared. At some point, Jack Dorsey will make paid features in it. Do you think it is possible to build a blockchain to work via Bluetooth? And then this question was seconded basically by Gramaggio, who says BitChat on blockchain rails could be fire, which I kind of agree with. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about the project itself?
I think, I mean, just today, I think there's announcements that a new project called White Noise also is coming out, which I think Jack's also sort of slightly linked to, and at least through it's kind of linked to sort of Bitcoin Community and Human Rights Foundation. And White Noise is, I believe, is based on Nostra. And I think Nostra is very interesting as a sort of decentralized protocol, which can kind of work together with kind of blockchains. For example, it integrates nicely with Bitcoin. And I think also I'm kind of interested in the idea of exploring it for kind of Zcash integration, or kind of being able to build kind of social kind of media applications built both on Nostra and accept kind of Zcash payments. And I think blockchain via Bluetooth, you kind of need high uptime, and outside of sort of a large sort of intranet or something, I think Bluetooth is far too unreliable of a technology. But the idea of being able to, for example, exchange crypto addresses via messages, and then kind of when someone is back online, being able to then kind of maintain communication, for example, send an encrypted memo then to that person, and then kind of exchange future kind of chat identifiers or kind of usernames and so on is useful. And there's kind of a lot of potential around that. But of course, also also bandwidth is going to be a heavy limitation for any sort of Bluetooth communication that you're not going to be able to kind of fit kind of full blocks on kind of much more than just sort of very limited kind of encrypted plain text. Or
yeah, agreed. Also, I think the product page of BitChat claims a range of 300 meters or something like that. That sounds a bit. I don't know if current Bluetooth standards support that kind of range. So that sounds a bit. What's that? Is it Starlink?
No, it's a
like
satellite receiver. Yeah. So I love the idea of offline payments. I think that is one of the key missing components to mass adoption, which everyone is expecting. Just like you were saying, cash is king or something like that. The OG privacy thing. And so, yeah, taking it offline makes complete sense. The issue is, when you take it offline, how do you protect against double spending? Like, you do need blockchains are very useful. My recommendation is to research the next evolution of Zcash. So Zcash has had a number of technological breakthroughs over the past several years. The next evolution is called Project Tachyon, and this is intended to scale to billions of users and indeed enable things like NFC tap to pay while still having the integrity of a blockchain. So check out Tachyon if you're interested in this kind of thing.
All right, we'll actually dig up a link to Tachyon, ladies and gentlemen. You will be able to find it in chat. Sounds very interesting, so I will read up on it myself as well. I think we only have time for one more question before we have to wrap up here. So we have quite a few from our beloved community contributor, Rocio. So I'm going to just grab one of hers. Question: are there any technical requirements or special considerations for users who want to take advantage of this integration? I think talking about the mixed integration for Zcash, for example, specific wallets or configurations. Did I grab a question nobody knows the answer to?
I think it depends on whether you mean, I guess, kind of what you mean for users about being able to use, for example, whether you would cover merchants under that. For example, I mean, the kind of BTC Pay Zcash plugin is open for anyone to use, for any merchants to use. In terms of a user perspective, I mean, I think pretty much any wallet kind of accepts, kind of supports shields as transactions should work. I mean, Zashi, Y Wallet, Zingo, etc. Yeah, and I mean, in terms of configurations, kind of not sure. I mean, I guess there isn't anything kind of specific that's needed, I guess. So.
Thanks for the answer.
The
chat about. Yeah. Go ahead, Alexi.
Yeah, I had a tiny bit of feedback because when you're setting up the BTC Pay server, then you need to have access to those view keys in order to set it up. And not all the wallets provide the view keys. I think there are a few of them. I didn't get the differences completely between the different view keys. But there's one type of view key that needs to be added, and for this I had to use the Y wallet, For example, Edge Wallet, which is Paul is a friend, but only has the other type of view key. So maybe we should tell Paul from Edge Wallet to add the other view key to it. But yeah, so you have these kind of changes. I think from a user perspective, it wouldn't make a difference, except if you're the person has to be careful to already have this money into the Z addresses, the shielded addresses, rather than have it on a transparent address, because then he would benefit from the anonymity. Because I think you can send it from, even if you're on a transparent address, you can send it to a shielded address, but you lose part of the anonymity, right? So that's.
Thank you for that context. We can continue the conversation on either the Nym or the Zcash Telegram channel if you guys want about the specifics of the integration and how it works. But with that, I think we arrived to the end of this call. We're already over time, so big thanks for all three of you for joining us, especially from the folks from Zcash. How was this experience for you guys? Anything to add? Any closing remarks?
We love Nym. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm hoping that we can do some joint community events together. Big shout out to Beyond and Rocio. I'd love to get in touch with you later on, perhaps. I'll jump in the Nym channels and try and find you. Thanks, you guys are doing great work.
Thank you so much. Very easy to find Rocio. She's all over all of our community channels, so you're not going to have any trouble finding her. Big thanks for joining again. This was excellent, and I'm super happy to see that people can now pay for NymVPN with Zcash as well. This is excellent stuff. Now the only thing that's left to do, ladies and gentlemen, is of course the little tradition that we have here in Nym Community Calls, which is distributing POAPs for these events, to commemorate us hanging out together. You need to go to the usual place, which is, I'm putting it on screen, which is nym.com/go/POAP. You can just click it from the chat as well. And the secret phrase for today's POAP is, drum roll, privacy stack. I thought that was appropriate because, because of all the discussions that we had today. Hopefully it's obvious why. Big thanks for joining, everybody. See you guys next time, and have a lovely day. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, big thanks.